We should probably start over.
Okay.
No, seriously, we could
No,
go FM radio guy and we could start our show, but that would be terrible.
it
All
would be
right.
terrible.
We are
Uh,
live. We're live, Casey. We're rolling. The Meltdown Show is back on YouTube, coming to the podcast of your choice. Sometime tonight, maybe tomorrow. But, as we said a couple days ago, we thought midweek we'd have a lot to talk about, and it turns out that we do.
a lot of things have happened since the story first broke.
A lot has happened. The Big 12 is hanging by a thread because OU and Texas formally announced their intentions to leave and to, apply for the SEC, which I think they did yesterday, if I'm got my timeline correct.
Yes, and then we voted on it today.
Yeah, Did you vote? Did you have a vote?
Yeah. Well, by proxy, I called my guy on the board, made sure they knew how we should vote.
And he told you to go jump in the lake because
said this is a Wendy's.
14-0. The SEC members voted to let in Texas and Oklahoma in 2025.
2025.
2025. That's what we're holding up on the placards right now because that's what the lawyers are saying.
Right.
They have to.
It's all theater.
They
have to do it. They have to say that they're going to play out their full grant of rights with the Big 12. And meanwhile, they're hoping, praying, working back channels as much as possible, and possibly colluding with ESPN and other conferences to make sure the Big 12 collapses as soon as possible, hopefully in the next few weeks, so that they can join the SEC as early as 2022.
Without paying a hefty sum. That's
right.
The goal.
Right.
So what an unbelievable situation the Texas and Oklahoma have got for themselves to where, like you said, they are actively trying to cause the destruction of the conference they just left. And there's really not a lot of people talking about that. We certainly can. It's like the one final giant a-hole move. Right? Not only are we going to leave the neighborhood, but we're going to try to burn it down as we leave.
Right. But who would talk about that? How about the number one sports broadcaster in America? Oh, wait, they're the ones driving all of this. So why would they take a dump on the two teams that are causing this when really they're pulling the strings as well?
Yeah. And not only will they not take a dump, your words, not mine, on Texas and Oklahoma, but this morning we had a nice little tweet from ESPN analyst Greg McElroy, who decided to place all of the blame actually back on the Big 12 itself, all the remaining members. Like, if you guys had made the neighborhood lucrative enough and had bent over backwards more to make Texas and Oklahoma happy, then none of this would have happened.
Yeah. Well, come on. We've known all along McElroy's a closet sip. I mean, Mac didn't want him. So, but he still has always dreamed of being a sip. So now he's
Shots fired, man. I just accused him of getting the
Greg's going to be really mad about this when he sees it.
Yeah, he's going to be furious. Well, look, so we could talk a little bit about 2025, right? You already touched on it somewhat, that's the grandstanding, the posturing. That's what the lawyers have said. What do you think the likelihood is, based on what you know right now, that Texas and Oklahoma are playing in the SEC in 2022?
Oh, I thought you were going to
a
say
little
2025. In 2022, I would say it's like a 70% chance. It's
That's pretty high.
more than likely. Yeah. The Big 12, if one of those teams decides to jump, right, then it's done and none of this matters. And that's what they're hoping for. Right now, they're talking a big game and they're threatening lawsuit and they're holding together, right?
Yeah.
Maybe a little bit out of spite. Say we're gonna stand our ground. We're not just gonna quit the conference. We're gonna make this as painful as possible for them. But in reality, that's all well and good. But as soon as one of them has a Power 5 landing spot, they're going to take it and blow this whole thing up. Will they find a Power 5 landing spot? Are any of them actually valuable enough? I don't know. Who was it? Was it Staples that has said, he's talked to, or maybe it was Aaron Torres. He just talked to the Pac-12 school presidents and whatnot all week at Pac-12 Media Days. None of them are interested in any of the Big 12 leftovers. I've heard similar reports about the Big 10 saying nobody out there is valuable enough to make it worth it. The ACC has a grant of rights that runs through 2030 something. It's a very long time. So yeah, people are saying that's not really viable. How much of that is just public posturing because they don't want a tortious interference lawsuit on their hands? I don't know.
There's so much at play here.
There's a lot.
There really is. And that's what Texas OU and ESPN and presumably the SEC leadership are actually hoping for, right? That enough things happen to cause the Big 12 to essentially dissolve. I still don't understand if the Big 12 manages, let's say that they actually manage to pull additional teams in, which I can't really tell if that's even possible out of the AAC or not, or those two leagues decide to join forces and merge in some sort of agreement. Does that let Texas and Oklahoma off the hook legally? Who knows? But
yeah, I think it does, but I don't know.
Yeah. Well, we will find out. From an A&M perspective, the opinions on this have been all over the map. There is a growing sentiment amongst A&M fans and leadership, at least publicly, saying bring it on and bring it on sooner rather than later. We talked about it on our last podcast that my feeling is the best possible outcome here is that it does get pushed out to 2025 for several reasons. First off, the buzz just dies down. And over time, it just sort of the story goes away, right? And then you've got two teams stuck in a conference they don't want to be in. Nobody's happy at all, right? And they have to recruit in that environment at least through the next two cycles at a time when A&M is really hitting their stride as a program, as not just a top 10 program, but on the cusp of being a top 5 power in college football, not just the results on the field, but the talent that they continue to bring in the door. I mean, these recruiting classes that Jimbo's starting to stack up are exceptional. And, at this point next week, we may be talking about his best class yet shaping up on the recruiting trail. So, I don't know. I would rather see it stretch out. I just would, because that means we get to enjoy the nice things. The rest of the SEC gets to enjoy nice things for a little longer.
Right.
Until somebody parks a frickin' broken down Audi on their lawn. Shots fired.
Oh my God. Yeah. I think I agree. I know like Billy Lucci at Texags has said, he wants it right now. Part of that might be posturing, and the reasoning he says is that Texas is weak right now, and I totally understand that. I think if we play in 2022, A&M has a chance to beat Texas. I don't want to say like handily, but I think they'd be favored in that matchup and would probably win it and have a nice start to Texas being in the SEC, maybe gain some upper hand. But like you said, I do think it really hurts their recruiting if they have to recruit when everyone knows they're leaving and they basically admitted that the Big 12 is trash. And that's all fine. I think not enough people are really talking about Oklahoma in this scenario, though. I wonder what's best for A&M in terms of the competitive landscape with Oklahoma. That's a school that really has their act together from top to bottom, right?
Yes.
So whatever happens, I feel like they're going to have a plan, and if it's strung out to 2025, they're going to be as strong as they possibly can be in 2025. Whereas if they come in next year, I know all their fans are very confident, and they've got a good football team that's better than most of the teams in the SEC. I still maintain that they're not really prepared for the grind of an SEC schedule, and the sooner we can get them into that, the sooner that can be exposed. Does that make sense?
No, it absolutely makes sense. The long-term prospects for Oklahoma are interesting because they've really gotten fat over the years on a weak conference. This is a team that, as good as everybody says they are, lost 2 games last year in a very, in what they consider an inferior conference, right?
Yeah.
So, losing to Kansas State and Iowa State, correct? Right, in the regular season.
Yeah.
It happened.
With a redshirt freshman, right? I mean,
yes,
I know,
correct. But like you said, that it's not that Oklahoma can't go out and win a game or win games in the SEC, and even win games against some good teams in the SEC. It's the grind. Mm-hmm. It is, and I was thinking about this today. Upsets happen every week in college football. Every week, right? Happens in the SEC. It happens with teams from outside, lower divisions, playing Power 5. But here's what doesn't happen in college football, okay? Teams don't get on a run of upsets. They don't go and pull off 3 upsets in a row or, 3 over a 5-week period. Like, you don't sneak up on a whole bunch of teams all the time. And you even go back to A&M in their first season in the SEC, and with Johnny Manziel at quarterback, they took their lumps in that season too. Right? Lost to Florida early, also lost to LSU, got it going, playing better football, good football, took advantage of the fact that a Mike Sherman built roster full of future NFL players that were upperclassmen, juniors and seniors, could hold their own in that league, right? I mean, look how many offensive linemen off of that team ended up being in the NFL, and with good careers in the NFL. So, but what we saw after that was an inability to recruit and develop talent along the lines, and A&M drifted, right? We were losing 4 or 5 games in a season for a long time.
5-loss spin cycle, as Billy Lucci put it.
Yes, absolutely. So,
which he thinks, and I think Texas gets stuck in almost immediately. I'm not so sure they get that Oklahoma ever gets stuck in that cycle, at least not to the 5-loss level. But who knows?
Yeah, I think that is the big question, right? Because like you said, Oklahoma culturally, Oklahoma from an admin perspective, from an athletic department perspective, they're all on the same page. Like that, mm-hmm. They've got a machine rolling. They've got a program. And they're able to develop the talent that they have. Now, they have recruited and developed talent to win in the Big 12. Right? And it does take a while to shift. We've seen that. Mm-hmm. It took the second head coach, a national championship winning head coach, an elite recruiter to take over this program, and it took several recruiting cycles. And now, we're recruiting along the line on both sides of the ball just as well as Alabama, as Georgia, as LSU. There's no lack of talent and depth. And so that's why, we're poised to go compete with those teams and not get stuck in what you just described as, the 5-loss cycle. So, you're right. I do think Oklahoma's better prepared to do that. We don't know what Texas is. We don't know what they're going to be, but at least in the future. But right now, they are not all on the same page.
No.
That is not an institution that has it together. There's actually been a lot of noise here this week in the back channels that there's a lot of people in Austin or big donors who are pretty upset about this move, period.
Yeah, and it actually seems more likely now that this initial leak that Brent Zorneman reported on probably came from one of those disgruntled boosters within Texas
Yeah.
that is not happy about this move to the SEC.
And I think we have, and people don't spend much time talking about this, but I actually think it's really important. Texas has not, how should I put this? Culturally, the fan base, the alumni base has nothing but disdain for the Southeastern Conference, which is the irony in all of this.
Right.
Right? That somebody within that athletic department, maybe it's Del Conte, right? The new president got together. These people, they are not part of that old guard. They come in and they see this for what it is, right? They see the impact on the program and what's happened to their recruiting, what's happening to, everything on campus that they've had to deal with over the last couple of years, and the money situation. And they say that's where we have to be. But there is an entire network of people who hate the Southeastern Conference, hate the teams in it, hate the culture of the teams in it, and have always felt like their natural home, where they deserve to be, okay? Not even where they fit, but where they deserve to be is in the Big Ten. And so now, there's people out there going, boy, Civil War is coming to UT Austin behind the scenes.
Mm-hmm.
But the people who are going, wait a second, how the hell did this happen? Whose idea was this? It certainly wasn't ours. We don't want to go there. And now you're going to have an admin, an athletic department, and a huge donor base that may, like you said, they may not be on the same page at all. So contrast to Oklahoma, who is on the same page, who is a good fit for the SEC, who always seemed like a natural SEC, culture and city and everything else. So, boy.
And, people ask why that stuff matters. And especially the casual Horn fan, they're just sitting there going, I don't care. We're Texas. We're the richest, school in the country. And, who cares? They'll get on board. And I'll tell you why it matters, okay? Because, there's rumors that it's going to be a lot of money. There's rumors of super conferences, or maybe even that the SEC is moving towards a mega conference. The landscape is only getting denser, right? The competitive landscape. They're moving to a more competitive landscape, and all the schools have a lot of money, whether Texas wants to admit it or not. We have the NIL stuff happening. How you spend your money is going to be very important. And so how you stay ahead of all of these other elite programs in an elite conference that love football more than you do, have fan bases that are just as committed as you are, you need your administration and your donors to be on the same page so that when your coach says, I need gold-plated toilets in the locker room to recruit, they say, okay, like, you talking like 24 karat or like,
yes,
right. I want a lazy river running around Kyle Field. Okay. How wide do you need it?
And nobody ever even flinches.
Right.
Right.
Yeah.
And what's interesting that in Austin is we know, this is very clear that, because what you just said is really important, that the alumni network and everybody has to be on the same page. They'll have to be pulling that same direction. And the situation in Austin does not fit that description. It doesn't. Every year, with every group of new students that come through there, that culture has changed. The student body is far less interested in what's going on in the football program. There's a lot of distractions in Austin in a lot of different ways. It's going to be pretty interesting, and I think it is going to be kind of a culture shock, right? Because you've already seen it on Twitter, okay? The Horn fans are coming out in mass.
Oh yeah,
and they're talking trash again about College Station. That's my favorite one of all time, right?
Yeah.
Like College Station. Oh, it's terrible. It's this horrible place. Well, guys, you're going to go on the road and guess it doesn't matter where you go in the SEC outside of Vanderbilt. Guess what it's going to be? It's going to be College Station. You're going to roll up in Auburn. You're rolling up into College Station. Tuscaloosa, small college town, right? Athens, nice town, okay, but a college town. Gainesville, man, look, been to
Oxford.
Gainesville. These places, they are
Starkville.
A&M.
Little
Right?
Rock.
You're now joining 14, basically 14 other A&Ms. Okay.
And guess
So-
what? They're going to hate you just as much as we do.
They are.
They're going to
They
hate you
are.
so much.
They're going to. And everybody's like, oh, it's not like everybody sits around on these message boards and they're all nice to each other. I'm going, no. That's not what this is. Okay. Yeah, I don't like LSU. Okay. But that's fun. That's healthy, right? We all want to get on here and say we're going to kick your ass, right? That's not what Texas is, man. Texas rolls up like they've already won something,
Right.
right? And they rub your nose in it and act like, you guys should be happy we're here.
Oh, yeah.
That's
Yeah.
the sentiment.
That's my favorite thing is when they roll into Baton Rouge or Oxford and they're going to walk in like, aren't you so happy to see us?
Yeah.
Are you so happy we're finally here?
Yeah. Kiss
Yeah.
the ring.
Yes. You're welcome.
Yeah.
That's
Texas is here. We're here to
Yeah.
save you guys.
We're here.
We're here to save college football.
By the way,
For
and
the
we know that
SEC.
that's how it's going to be because that's how it's always been. That's how they roll up in the middle of your conversation at the water cooler every day. Like, so get used to
That's
it.
right. That's right.
It happened to me today. I was even joking with somebody on Twitter because we made a crack about that. I'm like, it happened to me today. Someone that all of a sudden Texas is their school. Worked with them for 6 years. They never said a word. Now they're so excited about the SEC.
Yeah.
And they know so much about what's going on, even though they've been dead wrong about really everything that's been going on. So anyway,
Yeah, I've got some text messages as well. So all of a sudden here they come with their hot sports opinions on the league
Yeah.
they hate and how excited and it's not even that they, it's not, they're just wallowing in the fact that we don't want them in the neighborhood and we can't really do anything about it,
right.
right? That it seems to be more than that and when that wears off, okay.
It's gonna be fun for a little while for them
Because there are some rational
and enjoy it.
There are some rational Horn fans out there that are sitting back going, "Oh my God, what? Really? We've gone 500 over the last decade in the Big 12, and now we're just we're gonna go up the ante." And
Yeah. Well,
now they're few and far between.
yeah, and if they do, their own brethren immediately attack them with, well, we said that about Aggie, right? And look what happened. And if you've got Johnny Manziel on your sideline and you've got 5 NFL offensive linemen, then more power to you. It's going to be fun for you. It was a lot of fun.
We had a
But
blast, didn't we?
we had a blast.
We had a
But,
blast for about 15 months.
Right.
Right, and then Johnny left, and all those linemen left, and Kevin Sumlin did some Sumlining, and it got a little rough there for a while. It got really rough. So, but you know what? It ain't rough right now.
No.
'Cause we got Jimbo. So
Indeed.
you promised me a Twitter rant earlier. Okay, about
Oh,
some
well, it's
poster.
not. No,
Or did-
in fact, no. I actually need to issue an apology because, we did our show, and I think you've even had a couple of friends comment on like what homers we are. So I felt the need to reset the show for everyone. For one thing, like yes, we are unapologetic homers. This is a show by Aggies for Aggies. If you stumble upon it, you're probably not going to like it. But after our last show, I guess we made a crack about the SEC and the Big 12 fans hating the SEC. And I just wanted to issue an apology to whoever stumbled upon that feed and felt the need to comment on our thing. They say no one worthwhile from the Big 12 conference has bragged about it being better than the SEC. And that's exactly what people hate about the SEC, that other teams live vicariously through the big dogs, blah, blah, blah. And yeah, so I just, occasionally opposing fans do stumble upon our show. And I just wanted to apologize to this guy. I'm sorry that you have your head so far up your own ass that you haven't noticed the athletic directors, the head coaches, the assistant coaches, the players, the school presidents, the conference presidents,
The
the
network
in-state
shills.
media. Yeah, the network shills, the in-state media carrying the water, who have insisted for 10 years that the Big 12 is better than the SEC.
Yeah.
On your
absolutely.
network, on the Longhorn Network, and on the Fox Network in the middle of games.
Joel Klatt
I'm so
deleted his Twitter
sorry.
account.
Yeah. I'm so sorry that you've had your head so far up your ass that you haven't noticed any of that.
Yeah.
But we noticed, and so we're going to comment on it. But anyway, that's all I had to say about that.
Oh, okay. Well, I appreciate you being a grown ass man and apologizing
Yeah.
to that Twitter
Well-
poster. That was really nice of you. I'm sure. I'm
thought
sure
so.
he's listening. I'm sure
Yeah.
he'll be listening out there. Well, what's next, Casey? What's next? We're gonna have a big lawsuit from Bob Bowlesby. He's gonna sue ESPN for $1 billion, and it might be $1 billion. By the way,
I'm not so sure that that the fake Dan Beebe Twitter account hasn't body snatched Bob Bowlesby, because some of the stuff he said kind of sounds a little unhinged, to be honest. But
hey,
it's going to be fun.
times.
Desperate
Desperate
times.
times call for desperate measures. If anything, at least it's entertaining. But I did just want to. I want to say this to all the Texas Twitterati out there. Okay, rivalries. We said this last week. Rivalries are not fun. Okay, there's nothing fun about rivalries. Okay, there's a lot of hate. That's what makes a rivalry, is hate. And man, there's been a lot of hate out there in the last 24 to 48 hours. And we are here for it. We're here. We're ready
Sure.
for that. Okay, feels good. It does feel good again to hate something that much. In some ways, the world needs more hate. So needs more. I'm so over them already.
Yeah.
I'm just so over them, and I just can't wait for everybody else in the league to be that over them, and it won't take long. So,
No, immediately, a few seconds.
but I mean, if you listen to the Texas fans, like we said earlier, they think they're just gonna roll up to the party, and they
Yeah.
are the life of the party.
Yeah.
Right? So there's
Yeah.
that self-awareness, man, of no, everybody in your old conference hated you. Everybody
Right.
in the Big 12 hated you. Half the damn league left, okay? And guess what? Everybody here is going to hate you too. That's how it's going to be, because you're still you. And that's the problem.
It's not us, it's you.
Yeah, exactly. And it's going to disgust them that everybody else in this intense competitive environment, seems to be cool with each other at the end of the day. Pretty cool. So anyway,
Yeah.
all right, man. That's all I got for this one. That's
All right,
all I
fine.
got. Yeah, it's time to kill it. And when the next shoe drops, what?
Close enough. I don't know.
Okay,
The
Well,
other
that's
shoe
it.
drops.
the other shoe. I have to go. Where does that come from? Worst ending ever.